Mom left her 5-year-old blind daughter standing alone near the side of a busy road, the late afternoon sun burning the asphalt and cars rushing past like they didn't see her at all. The little girl hugged a small brown teddy bear to her chest, her white cane shaking in her tiny hand as she tried to understand where she was. Her mom had whispered, "Stay here, I'll be back," then walked away and never turned around. Minutes passed, then hours. People stared but kept moving. Some slowed down, then sped up again. Finally, a black luxury car stopped with a soft squeak of brakes. A tall man in a dark suit stepped out, his shiny shoes careful not to touch the puddle by the curb. He froze when he saw the child. Her eyes were cloudy, unfocused, dust clung to her pink dress. Her lips were dry. She turned her face toward the sound of his footsteps and asked in a tiny, tired voice, "Sir, is my mom back?" In that moment, this billionaire who thought money could fix anything, realized he was standing in front of a kind of broken that no check could erase. What he did next would change both of their lives forever. Before we go deeper into this story, please like this video and share it with someone who needs hope. Tell us in the comments, what time is it where you are, and where are you watching from? Nigeria, America, the UK, South Africa, Ghana, Jamaica, or somewhere else in the world? The little girl's name was Lily. She didn't know how rich or poor anyone was. She did not know what a billionaire was. She only knew how to count footsteps, how to listen for the beep of the traffic light, how to follow the soft tug of her mother's hand. But today her mother's hand was gone. Lily's small sneakers were dusty and the bottom of her pink dress was stained. Her curly hair was tied in 2 puff ponytails that were already getting messy from the wind. She hugged her teddy bear tighter, pressing her cheek against its worn fur. "Mom," she whispered again, though she already knew no one was answering. On the other side of the road, people were buying food from a street seller. Some glanced at her, some pointed, no one stopped. Lily took one small step forward, her cane tapping the ground, and the sound of a car horn screamed as a car zoomed past, close enough to make her stumble back. Her heart raced. She tried to remember how many steps her mother said she would be away. 10 steps? 20? She didn't know. Time felt heavy and strange. The smell of smoke, car fuel, and roasted corn mixed in the air. Her stomach growled loud enough that she could hear it. Inside the black car that finally stopped, a man named Daniel Hayes had been talking on the phone with his assistant. Daniel was one of the richest men in the city. People wrote about him in magazines. They called him the man who never fails. He owned hotels, tech companies, and half the buildings on the main street. His life was full of meetings, numbers, and more meetings. That afternoon, traffic had annoyed him. A deal had almost collapsed. A partner had disappointed him. So when his driver slowed down, Daniel snapped, "Why are we stopping?" His driver, a middle-aged man named Carl, pointed through the glass. "Sir, look." Daniel followed his hand and saw a tiny figure near the side of the road. At first, he thought it was just another child with a parent nearby. Then he looked closer. No one was holding her hand. No adult was standing beside her. She stood too close to the main road, her cane tapping the air like it couldn't find the ground. Daniel frowned and pushed the door open. When he stepped out of the car, the heat wrapped around him like a blanket. The noise of the city hit his ears, but his eyes were fixed on Lily. She turned her head toward the sound of his shoes. "Sir," she said softly, her voice shook. "Excuse me, can you tell my mom I'm still here?" Daniel's chest tightened in a way that surprised him. He was used to hearing adults ask for money, for chances, for meetings. But this tiny voice was asking for something much smaller and much bigger at the same time, a mother. He swallowed. "Hey," he said gently, walking closer but not too fast so she wouldn't be scared. "What's your name?" Lily hugged her teddy bear. "My name is Lily," she said. "My mom told me to wait. She said she'd come back soon. I can't see her yet." The word "see" hit him. He looked at her eyes and realized they were different. They did not focus. They did not follow him. They looked past him. His heart sank. Daniel glanced around, expecting to see a woman rushing back, maybe carrying bags. No one came. He checked the small shops nearby. A few people looked away when they saw him looking at them. One woman selling oranges shrugged. "She's been there for a long time," the woman said. "With her teddy bear, I thought her mother was close." Another man added, "She almost walked into the road. I shouted at her to move back." Daniel's jaw clenched. "No one tried to help her?" he asked quietly. The man scratched his head. "We're busy, sir. We thought her family would return." Busy. That word echoed in Daniel's head because he used it every day. He was too busy for friends, too busy for long talks, too busy for feelings, but right now he knew one thing: he was not too busy for this child. He walked back to Lily and bent down so his voice would be closer to her ear. "Lily," he said calmly, "how long have you been waiting here?" She lifted her face toward his voice. Her cheeks were streaked with dried tears. "I don't know," she whispered. "The sun was high, now it feels lower. My legs hurt. I'm hungry." She paused. "But Mom said I should not move." Daniel felt something twist inside him. "Do you know where your mom went?" Lily shook her head slowly. "She said she was going to ask someone for help. She told me to stay with Teddy and be brave." Lily's small fingers patted the teddy bear's head. She always says I'm heavy, that I cause trouble, but today she said she loves me. She kissed my forehead twice. She never kisses me twice." Her lips trembled. "Did I do something wrong?" Behind Daniel, Carl watched in silence. He had children of his own. "Sir," Carl said softly, "we should at least move her away from the road. It's not safe." Daniel nodded. "Lily," he said carefully, "can I hold your hand? We're going to step away from the cars. Is that okay?" Lily hesitated. All her life she had been told to be careful with strangers. But she was tired, thirsty, and afraid. This man's voice sounded steady, like someone who knew what to do. She stretched out her hand, feeling the space with her fingers until they touched his. His hand was warm and strong. He gently led her a few steps back onto a quieter part of the sidewalk near a small tree. "Is this better?" he asked. Lily nodded. "I can feel shade now," she said, tilting her face up. "Thank you, sir." Daniel knelt fully in front of her now. The knees of his expensive suit touched the dusty ground. But he didn't care. "Lily," he said, "I'm Daniel. Where do you live?" She pressed her lips together, thinking hard. "It's a place with many small houses," she said. "There's a blue gate that squeaks when you open it. My mom says we don't stay there all the time because the rent is too much. Sometimes we sleep at Aunt's place, but Aunt doesn't like me. She says I make things slow." Daniel felt his throat tighten again. "Do you know your mom's full name?" he asked. "Her name is Monica," Lily said quietly. "But sometimes people call her that woman." He took a deep breath. This was bad. A 5-year-old blind girl with no clear address, no mother in sight, standing near a main road for who knows how long. He pulled his phone from his pocket. "Carl," he said, "get some water from the store, something soft she can eat too, bread or biscuits." Carl hurried off. Daniel called one of his assistants first. "Mark, I need you to contact Child Services right now," he said. "I found a little blind girl abandoned near 3rd Avenue. We're by the corner with the fruit stall. Get someone here fast." Mark's voice crackled through the phone. "Abandoned, sir, are you?" Daniel cut him off. "Just do it, and find out if there have been any missing child reports. Her name is Lily, about 5 years old." While he waited, he put the phone away and tried to keep Lily calm. "So Lily," he said, "tell me about Teddy. What's his name?" She smiled a little. It was a small, tired smile, but it was real. "His name is Mr. Buttons," she said, rubbing the teddy bear's ear. "He listens when I talk. He doesn't sleep when I can't sleep. When it's dark and my eyes hurt, I hold him." Daniel felt a strange sting behind his own eyes. He hadn't cried in years. He didn't like tears. But right now, listening to this child talk about a teddy bear like it was her only friend, something inside him shook. Carl returned with a bottle of water and a soft bread roll. Daniel opened the bottle, placed it gently in Lily's hand, and guided it to her mouth. "Slow sips," he said. "Don't drink too fast." She nodded and drank, water spilling a little at the sides. Then he gave her the bread. She ate carefully, like someone who had learned to stretch food so it would last longer. While she ate, Daniel stood up and paced a little, his mind racing. This was not on his schedule. He had a dinner meeting in an hour with people who had flown from another country. He had numbers to check, contracts to sign. But every time he thought about getting back into the car and driving away, he saw Lily's cloudy eyes and heard her soft voice asking, "Did I do something wrong?" A few minutes later, a police car pulled up nearby. Daniel's assistant had moved fast. A young officer stepped out, followed by an older one. They walked over and greeted Daniel respectfully. Everyone in the city knew his face. "Mr. Hayes," the older officer said, "we got the call. Where's the child?" Daniel stepped aside so they could see Lily, still sitting under the tree, holding her teddy bear, breadcrumbs on her dress. The younger officer's face softened. "Oh no," he murmured. He crouched down. "Hey there, little one, I'm Officer Ryan. We're here to help you." Lily tightened her grip on the teddy bear. "Are you taking me to my mom?" she asked. The officers exchanged a quick look. Daniel saw that look. He didn't like it. It was the look of people who didn't know what to say. "Right now," Daniel said quickly, kneeling beside her again, "we're going to make sure you're safe. We'll look for your mom. But first we need a place where you can rest. Somewhere with air conditioning, food, and people who understand how to help kids like you. Does that sound okay?" Lily thought about it. The road smelled like dust and smoke. Her legs hurt, her head felt heavy. "Will Mr. Buttons come too?" she asked. "Of course," Daniel said at once. "Mr. Buttons goes wherever you go." He looked at the officers. "She needs a hospital check first," he said firmly. "She's been out here in the sun for hours and she's blind. We don't know her medical history. I'll cover every cost. Just tell me which hospital is best." The older officer nodded. "There's a good children's hospital 15 minutes from here," he said. "We can escort you." Daniel agreed without thinking twice. He stood and turned to Lily. "Okay, brave girl," he said. "I'm going to pick you up now so you don't have to walk. Is that okay?" Lily's hand reached out, searching. She touched his sleeve and nodded slowly. "Okay," she whispered. He slid his arms under her, careful and gentle, lifting her small body off the ground. She was lighter than he expected. Too light. As he carried her to the car, she rested her head against his chest. He could feel the quick beat of her heart, and strangely, it made his own heart feel less like cold stone. Inside the car, Lily sat between Daniel and Carl in the back seat. Her cane rested against her leg. Mr. Button sat in her lap. She ran her fingers over the teddy bear's face, tracing his stitched smile. "Sir?" she asked after a few minutes of silence. "Yes, Lily. Are you rich?" The question surprised him. Daniel blinked. "Why do you ask?" She shrugged a little. "Your car feels soft," she said. "The seat smells like new things. And your voice sounds like the programs Mom hears on the small radio when rich people talk about money." Carl almost smiled at that. Daniel let out a soft breath. "People say I have a lot of money," he answered honestly. "But right now, the most important thing to me is that you're safe." She was quiet, thinking. "Mom says rich people don't look at people like us," Lily said finally. "She says they only care about numbers, but you came out of your car, you held my hand. Why?" Daniel stared out the window for a moment. He saw buildings he owned, billboards with his face, ads for his companies. They all looked empty to him now. "Because I saw you standing there alone," he said slowly. "And something in my heart would not let me drive away." Lily tilted her head. "So your heart can see me," she said softly, "even if my eyes can't see you." That simple sentence hit him harder than any business failure ever had. He swallowed past the lump in his throat. "Yes, Lily," he whispered, "my heart can see you." The hospital nurses rushed to meet them when they saw Daniel carrying a small child. Everyone knew who he was, and when a billionaire walked into a hospital, people usually expected it to be for some big donation or fancy event. But today he stood in the middle of the waiting area with dust on his suit and worry on his face. "She was abandoned near a busy road," he explained quickly as the nurses brought a wheelchair. "She's blind, she's thirsty, she's been in the sun too long. Her name is Lily." "She's 5, a kind-looking nurse with a name tag that read Nina crouched beside Lily. "Hi, sweetheart," she said gently. "I'm Nurse Nina. We're going to check your body and make sure everything is okay. Is that all right?" Lily's fingers tightened on Mr. Button's. "Will I stay here alone?" she asked. Daniel stepped closer. "I'm not leaving," he said softly. "I'll be right outside the door. If you need me, just say my name. The nurses will call me." Lily's small face relaxed a little at that. "Okay," she whispered. "Please don't go far." He watched as they wheeled her into an exam room. The door closed, and for a moment Daniel just stood there, staring at the small window in the door. Carl came to stand beside him. "Sir," Carl said quietly, "the meeting at the hotel." Daniel shook his head. "Cancel it," he said. "Tell them it's an emergency." Carl didn't argue. He had never seen his boss like this, softened, shaken, almost fragile. While Lily was being examined, a doctor in a white coat came out to talk to Daniel. She introduced herself as Dr. Harris, a pediatric specialist. "We'll run some tests," she said. "She's dehydrated and a bit underweight. We'll also check her eyes. It looks like she was born with a condition that affects the way her eyes formed, or something happened early in her life. Either way, she needs proper care." "Do you know her family situation?" Daniel shook his head. "Her mother's name is Monica, but I don't have a last name or address," he said. "The police are trying to find her. They're also checking if there are any missing child reports." Dr. Harris sighed. "Unfortunately, sometimes parents who feel overwhelmed make very bad choices," she said. "But this little girl is brave. She kept asking if her mother was coming back." Those words stabbed him. Overwhelmed, bad choices. He knew about bad choices. He had made some in his past too, choices that had cost him people he loved. Suddenly an old memory flashed in his mind, his own little girl, almost the same age as Lily, running through their big house, her laughter echoing. Her name had been Ellie. She had loved pink dresses too. And then the memory darkened. The day of the accident, the sirens, the hospital room, the small body lying too still. He had thrown himself into work after that, building more companies, making more money, trying to bury the pain under stacks of papers. But seeing Lily on that road had pulled that buried pain back into the light. Rubbed his temples and took a deep breath. "Doctor," he said softly, "whatever she needs, I'll pay for it. Tests, surgery if possible, therapy, anything. Just make sure she's okay." Dr. Harris nodded, impressed and touched. "That's very generous, Mr. Hayes," she said, "but this is more than just money. She'll need stability, love, and a safe place to grow. We can't keep her here forever." Daniel knew that, and the thought scared him. He had not let his heart get close to any child since Ellie. He had built walls around himself, but now, standing in a hospital hallway, those walls felt like they were cracking. Inside the exam room, Lily lay on the bed while nurses checked her temperature and blood pressure. They spoke to her softly, explaining each thing they did. "We're putting this around your arm to check your blood pressure," one said. "It might feel tight, but it won't hurt." Lily nodded, trusting them because Daniel had told her she would be safe. "Where is he?" she asked. "The man from the road," Nurse Nina smiled. "He's right outside," she said. "He hasn't left." Lily relaxed at that. He has a strong voice, she said. It sounds like a wall I can lean on. After a while they wheeled her back out. Daniel straightened immediately. Lily, he said, relief in his voice. How do you feel? She smiled faintly. They poked my arm, she said, pointing to the spot where they had taken blood, but they were nice. They said I can have juice. Dr. Harris joined them. We'll keep her for observation tonight, she explained. We started fluids through a small line in her hand to help with dehydration. We'll also check her eyes more deeply tomorrow. For now, she needs rest. Daniel nodded. Can I stay with her? He asked. Dr. Harris hesitated. We usually don't let non-family stay overnight, she said. Then she saw the way Lily's hand reached for Daniel's sleeve as if she already knew where he was. The doctor's eyes softened. But in this case, she added, we can make an exception. She's been through a lot today. They moved Lily to a small room with a single bed, a chair, and a window that looked out over the city lights. She couldn't see the view, but Daniel could, and somehow it looked different tonight. Not like lights of success, but like small stars watching them. He helped Lily settle into the bed. Nurses tucked a blanket around her. She clutched Mr. Buttons close. Sir, she said quietly, thank you for not leaving me on the road. He sat in the chair beside her bed. You never deserve to be left there, he said firmly. You deserve safety and love, Lily. You deserve people who stay. She was quiet for a moment, then asked the question that had been hiding in her heart. Do you think my mom will come back? The room felt heavy. Daniel did not want to lie, but he also did not want to break her heart more than it already was. I don't know, he said honestly, choosing his words carefully. Sometimes grown-ups make mistakes because they are scared or tired or feel like they have no options. But no matter what she did, it is not your fault. You did nothing wrong. Lily's lower lip quivered. What if she left me because I can't see? She whispered. What if she's tired of guiding me around? Sometimes she sighs so loud, she says, if only you could see, everything would be easier. Tears slipped down her cheeks. I tried to see, but my eyes don't listen. Daniel leaned forward and gently wiped her tears with a tissue. Listen to me, Lily, he said softly but firmly. Your worth is not in your eyes, your worth is in your heart, your mind, your courage. You are not a burden, you are a blessing. Anyone who can't see that is the one who is truly blind, she sniffed. You really think so? He nodded, even though she couldn't see it. I know so, he replied. As the night grew later, Lily's breathing slowed. She fell asleep holding Mr. Buttons, her small hand still resting on the teddy bear's arm. Daniel stayed in the chair watching her. The quiet beeping of a machine and the soft hum of the air conditioner filled the room. The hallway outside was dim. Nurses walked past now and then. In the stillness, his phone buzzed. It was a message from Officer Ryan. Daniel stepped into the hallway to check it without waking Lily. Mr. Hayes, the message read, we checked the nearby area. Some neighbors recognized the child's description. They say the mother, Monica, has been struggling for a long time. She moved from place to place. No stable job. People say she often complained about taking care of a blind child alone. One neighbor admitted hearing her say, one day I'll leave her somewhere someone else can deal with her. We're still searching for her, but so far she hasn't been found. We'll update you. Daniel felt anger rise in his chest, hot and sharp. How could a mother say that? How could she walk away and not look back? Then, underneath the anger, he felt something else. A deep sadness that a woman could be pushed so far by pain, fear, and poverty that she would choose something so cruel. He typed a short reply. Thank you, keep me informed. Then he slipped his phone back into his pocket and leaned against the wall, closing his eyes for a moment. He could walk away after this. He could pay the bills, make a donation, and let the system handle Lily. It would be the easy path, the busy man path, but when he thought about walking into that room and telling Lily that strangers would take over from here, his chest hurt in a way he could not ignore. While he stood there, Dr. Harris walked up beside him. She's sleeping now, the doctor said quietly. She asked the nurse if you were still here before she drifted off. She seems to trust you. Daniel nodded. She shouldn't, he said with a sad half-smile. I'm a man who knows numbers better than feelings. Dr. Harris shook her head. You came back for her, she replied. You stayed. Sometimes that is the biggest feeling of all. She paused, then added, there's something else I wanted to tell you, Mr. Hayes. In her tests, we found signs she hasn't been eating enough. There are marks on her arms and legs that suggest she may have fallen many times without proper care. This wasn't just one bad day, this has been her life for a while. The news hit Daniel like a cold wave. Every stumble, every hungry night, every bruise had been hidden behind Lily's small brave smile and her gentle voice. He pushed a hand through his hair. So what happens now? He asked quietly. If her mother doesn't show up, Dr. Harris sighed. Child services will step in, she said. They'll look for relatives first. If there are none who can care for her safely, they'll place her in a children's home or a foster program. She may be moved around a few times. It's not easy, especially for a blind child. Those last words burned. Especially for a blind child. He imagined Lily trying to learn new rooms, new voices, new rules again and again. No steady voice, no steady hand, no steady place to belong. Something inside him snapped into place like a lock finally turning. He thought of Ellie again, how he couldn't save her no matter how much money he had. But here was a child he had actually reached in time. A child whose life could still be rewritten. Daniel turned and looked through the small window into Lily's room. Even in sleep, her hand clutched Mr. Buttons as if she was afraid someone would take the last piece of her old life away. The city lights reflected faintly on the window glass, tiny dots of gold. His reflection stared back at him, tired eyes, expensive suit, the face people called powerful. But tonight he did not feel powerful, he felt called. "Doctor," he said slowly, his voice lower now, like he was afraid of the size of his own words. If her mother doesn't come back, if there are no safe relatives, what would it take for me to apply to take care of her myself?" Dr. Harris blinked in surprise. "You mean become her guardian?" Daniel nodded once firmly. "I don't know what that looks like yet," he admitted. "I don't know how to raise a blind child. I don't even know all the right words to say. But I know this, I can't walk away from her. I can't let her be thrown into a system that might never see her the way she deserves to be seen." The doctor studied his face, trying to see if this was just rich man guilt or something deeper. She saw real pain there and something else, hope fighting its way through old grief. "There would be a lot of steps," she said honestly. "Home checks, background checks, training, legal processes. It won't be easy." Daniel gave a small, determined nod. "I've faced hard things before," he replied. "Business fights, lawsuits, big losses, but this matters more than any deal I have ever made." Before Dr. Harris could answer, a nurse hurried down the hall toward them, her shoes tapping lightly on the floor. "Doctor," she said, slightly out of breath, "you need to see this. Lily just woke up crying. She's asking for Mr. Hayes. She's shaking and calling his name like she had a nightmare." Daniel didn't wait. He moved past them and went straight into the room. Lily was sitting up in bed, her small body trembling, tears streaming down her face. "Daniel," she cried, her voice high with fear. "Daniel, are you here? Don't leave me. Please don't leave me like Mom did. Please." Her hand waved in the air, searching for something solid. Without thinking, Daniel rushed to her side and took her hand in both of his. "I'm here, Lily," he said firmly, sitting on the edge of the bed. "I'm right here. I didn't leave." She turned her face toward the sound of his voice and grabbed his sleeve tightly. "I dreamed I was back on the road," she sobbed. "Cars were loud, people walked past, Mom walked away again, but this time you got in your car and left too," she hiccuped. "I was alone. I called you, but you didn't come." His heart broke at her words. He gently placed his other hand over hers, holding it like a promise. "That was just a dream," he said softly but strongly. "Listen to my voice, Lily. I am here. I am not in a car. I am not driving away. I am right next to you." Slowly, her breathing began to calm. She wiped at her cheeks with the back of her free hand. "Promise," she whispered. "Promise you won't leave me alone." Daniel hesitated for only a second, knowing that promises like this were big, heavy, and not easy to keep. Then he looked at her small, fearful face, at the bandage on her arm, at the teddy bear clutched against her chest. He felt the weight of his money, his companies, his lonely mansion, and he knew that none of it meant anything if he walked away tonight. "I promise," he said quietly but clearly, "I will not leave you alone." Lily let out a shaky breath and slowly leaned toward him until her head rested against his arm. "Then I'm not scared anymore," she whispered, "because even if I can't see, your voice is like light." Those words settled inside him like a seed. He sat there, letting her lean against him as her breathing slowed again and she slipped back into sleep, still holding tight to his sleeve. Outside the room, Dr. Harris watched through the small window, her arms folded, her face thoughtful. The nurse beside her whispered, "Do you think he really means it, about taking care of her?" The doctor didn't answer at once. She remembered the way his voice shook when he asked what it would take. She remembered the pain in his eyes when he talked about not being able to walk away. "I think," Dr. Harris said at last, "we are watching the beginning of something very big, for both of them." Just then Daniel's phone buzzed again. He gently slid his arm out from under Lily's head and placed a soft pillow there instead, careful not to wake her. He stepped into the hallway and checked the message. It was from Officer Ryan. "We may have found the mother," it read. A woman matching her description was seen near an old bus station, crying and talking to herself about a mistake. "She's on her way here now." She asked which hospital the rich man took her daughter to. "We'll bring her in for questioning." Daniel stared at the screen, his heart pounding. The mother who had walked away was coming here, to this hospital, to this floor, to this small room where Lily finally felt safe for the first time in a long time. He felt a storm of emotions rise inside him: anger, curiosity, fear of what her return might do to Lily's fragile heart, and a strange, uneasy hope that maybe there was more to this story than the cruel picture painted by the road. Footsteps echoed in the hallway as the elevator doors slid open at the end of the corridor. Two officers stepped out with a thin woman between them, her clothes wrinkled, her eyes red and swollen. Her hands shook as she clutched a small, worn-out handbag to her chest. She looked like she had run out of tears and strength at the same time. Her eyes scanned the hallway wildly until they landed on the room number the officers pointed to. Daniel stood frozen just outside Lily's door, his body blocking the entrance. Inside, the little girl slept, believing she was finally safe. Outside, the mother who had left her on the road was about to come face to face with the man who picked her daughter up. The officers guided the woman closer. She lifted her head and looked straight at Daniel, her lips trembling. "Are you the man who took my child?" she asked, her voice breaking on the word child. And right there in that charged hallway, with Lily sleeping behind the door and her mother standing only a few steps away, everything in the story was about to change in a way none of them were ready for. The thin woman stood trembling in the hallway, her eyes swollen and filled with a kind of fear that made even the fluorescent hospital lights seem harsh against her skin. She looked like someone who had run through the night, chased by regret itself. Her hair was messy, sticking to her damp forehead. Her shirt was wrinkled and stretched at the collar, like she had been tugging at it in panic. The two officers behind her stayed close, not forcing her forward but not letting her run either. When her eyes met Daniel, she flinched slightly as though his calm, steady presence was too sharp against the chaos she was drowning in. "Are you the man who took my child?" she asked again, her voice cracking more with fear than accusation. Daniel did not move from the doorway. He stood tall, shoulders squared, his expression unreadable. Inside the room behind him, Lily slept peacefully for the first time in hours, unaware that the one person who had dropped her into a world of danger had now found her way here. Daniel inhaled quietly, trying to keep his tone controlled. "I'm the man who found your daughter alone on the side of a busy road," he said evenly. "Where cars could have killed her, where she stood for hours without food, water, or a single person to protect her." The mother's knees shook as though his words were heavy stones that landed on her shoulders. "Please," she whispered, taking a shaky breath. I need to see her." Daniel didn't step aside. "Not yet," he said firmly. "Before you walk into that room, you're going to explain why a blind 5-year-old child was left alone on a dangerous roadside. Explain why she was dehydrated, why she was terrified, why she believed you were never coming back." The officers exchanged looks. The mother looked down at her hands, twisting her fingers together so tightly it looked painful. "I didn't want to leave her forever," she said in a voice that trembled. I just needed time, just a little time to think. Everything has been crushing me, every day, every step, every breath." She looked back up, tears falling freely. "You don't know what it's like to feel like the world is choking you." Daniel's jaw tensed slightly. He understood desperation, he understood grief, but he also understood the face of a child who felt unwanted. Officer Ryan stepped forward gently. "Ma'am," he said, "you told us earlier that you went to ask someone for help, but you didn't come back, you left the area, people saw you crying, but you kept walking." She swallowed hard. "I know," she said quietly, "I know how it looks, but I wasn't trying to abandon her, I was trying to breathe." She can't see, she cries at night, she falls, she needs things I can't give, and every day, every hour I feel like I'm drowning, like I'm failing her." She looked at the door desperately. "I was going to come back. I just needed a moment to stop hearing the world scream inside my head." Daniel studied her face. There was pain there, real pain, but pain didn't erase responsibility. "A child is not something you put down when you're overwhelmed," he said softly but firmly. "Especially not a blind child, she depends on you for everything." The woman let out a weak sob, covering her face with her hands. "I know," she whispered between breaths. "I know I'm a bad mother, I know everyone will judge me, I know I did something horrible, but I promise I never wanted to hurt her." She lowered her hands and looked directly at Daniel with a pleading expression. "Please, please let me see her." For a long moment no one moved. Daniel glanced toward the small window of Lily's room. He could see her tiny form curled under the blanket, clutching Mr. Buttons tightly. She looked peaceful and safe, something that had been missing from her life for so long. He felt protective of her in a way that surprised even him. Finally he exhaled and stepped aside just enough to block half the doorway, not the full entrance. "You can talk to her," he said quietly, "but you will not wake her. You will not touch her, you will not upset her, and you will not make promises you can't keep." She nodded repeatedly, tears still streaming. "I won't," she whispered, "I promise." Daniel opened the door slowly, and the mother stepped inside on shaky legs, her breath catching the moment she saw her daughter sleeping peacefully in the small hospital bed. Lily's tiny hand rested on her teddy bear, her face relaxed and gentle. "Oh God," the mother whispered, her voice breaking completely. She covered her mouth with both hands to stop herself from making a sound. Seeing her child safe, fed, clean, and resting in a comfortable bed felt like a knife and a blessing at the same time. She took one slow step closer but didn't touch the bed. "Lily," she whispered, her voice cracked again, "my baby, I'm so sorry." Daniel stayed in the doorway watching closely. He didn't want Lily awakened into fear. He didn't want her confused. He didn't want her re-traumatized. The mother wiped her cheeks shakily. "Do you know," she whispered to herself, "that the day she was born I promised her I would always protect her. I told her she would never feel alone, and then life just kept," her chest heaved in a painful sob. "Life kept tearing everything apart." Daniel spoke quietly from the doorway. "Why didn't you ask for help? Why didn't you take her to a hospital or to social services? Why leave her somewhere so dangerous?" The woman's shoulders slumped as another wave of guilt washed over her. She turned to him, tears burning her eyes. "Because I was scared if I asked for help they would take her away forever," she whispered. "I thought if I just found a job or figured something out, if I could just breathe for 1 hour, I could come back and fix everything. But I should never have left her alone." She dug her nails into her palms. "I know I failed. I know what I did is unforgivable." Daniel crossed his arms slowly. "Lily told me she thought you left because she can't see," he said quietly. "She said she tries so hard to make her eyes listen, but they don't." The mother broke completely at those words. She collapsed into the chair beside the bed, burying her face in her hands. "I never wanted her to think that," she cried. "Never. I love her, but I'm so tired that some days I don't even feel human anymore." She sniffed hard. "I wasn't abandoning her. I was abandoning myself, but she got caught in it." For a moment Daniel's expression softened, not because he forgave her but because he understood the weight of desperation. He had carried his own grief like chains for years. The mother leaned back in the chair, exhausted, looking at Lily with a mixture of love and deep shame. "When she wakes up," she whispered, "she's going to be scared. She always cries when she can't hear me." Daniel nodded slowly. "Yes," he said, "she did cry, but tonight she cried for me." The mother closed her eyes, absorbing that heavy truth. "Because she thinks I left her," she whispered, "and she's right." Officer Ryan stepped closer. "Ma'am," he said gently but firmly, "we need you to answer some questions. This situation involves child welfare. There are legal steps that must be taken." The mother nodded weakly. "I'll do whatever I need to do," she murmured. "Just don't let them take her away, not forever." Daniel watched her carefully. Her guilt was real. Her pain was real. But real pain didn't guarantee safety for a child, not after what happened. The officers guided her out to the hallway for questioning. Once she was gone, Daniel quietly closed the door and walked to Lily's bedside. The little girl slept peacefully, her tiny chest rising and falling gently. He pulled the chair closer and sat down, studying her small hand clutching the teddy bear. The room felt warmer with her in it. Softer. He remembered the question she asked him earlier, "Are you rich?" and how innocent her curiosity had been. He remembered how she asked, "Why did you stop for me?" and how her voice trembled when she said, "Do you think my mom will come back?" He remembered how she clung to his sleeve like it was the last safe thing in her world. Outside the room, the mother's raised voice echoed faintly as she tried to explain herself to the officers. Daniel stayed with Lily, keeping his breath quiet and steady so she wouldn't sense any tension in the room. A few minutes later, Dr. Harris knocked gently and stepped inside. "She's been stabilized for the night," the doctor said softly. "Her blood sugar was low and she's dehydrated, but she'll recover with proper care." Daniel nodded. "Thank you, doctor." Dr. Harris walked closer to the bed and looked at Lily's peaceful face with a mixture of compassion and sadness. "She's been through a lot," the doctor murmured. "Sometimes the bravest ones are the smallest ones." Daniel exhaled slowly. "What happens next?" he asked. Dr. Harris folded her hands together. "Child services will get involved," she explained. "They'll interview the mother, review her history, and evaluate whether Lily can return to her care safely. The fact that she was left alone in a dangerous environment will weigh heavily against the mother." Daniel looked down at Lily's tiny hand. "She doesn't deserve to be tossed around," he said quietly. "She needs stability, structure, love. Everything she hasn't had." Dr. Harris nodded gently. "And she needs someone who doesn't walk away," she added. A long silence filled the room. Finally, Dr. Harris spoke again. "Mr. Hayes, you mentioned earlier the possibility of stepping in, becoming her guardian." The words lingered in the air like a fragile thread. Daniel inhaled deeply. "I meant it," he said quietly. "If she has no safe home to return to, I want her to have one with me." Dr. Harris searched his face. "Are you prepared for what that means?" she asked gently. "It's more than paying bills or providing a house. Raising a child, especially a visually impaired child, requires patience, time, emotional presence, and training. It will change everything in your life." Daniel lifted his gaze. "Doctor," he said softly, "my life could use that change." The hallway grew louder as the officers finished questioning the mother. She was shaking as she signed a document acknowledging the investigation into her actions. She tried to wipe her tears, but they kept falling. "Can I see her again?" she begged softly. Just one more time, just one more moment, Officer Ryan sighed. Not tonight, he said gently. We need things to stay calm for her. You'll have your chance later depending on what Child Services decides. The mother nodded with a broken expression, understanding that her choices were no longer just her own. Daniel stayed by Lily's bedside, keeping watch over her as she slept. Every now and then she twitched as if a dream tugged at her. Sometimes her tiny fingers let go of Mr. Buttons, and he gently repositioned the teddy bear so she wouldn't wake up reaching for it in fear. The sight of her sleeping stirred something inside him he had buried for years. Memories of Ellie, her tiny socks, her giggles, the way she used to run into his arms, flickered through his mind like old, faded film. He swallowed hard, feeling a painful tug in his chest. Losing Ellie had crushed him, but meeting Lily had lifted something inside him he hadn't felt in years. Outside the window, the city lights blinked like stars scattered across the darkness. Cars moved in the distance. But inside the room, everything was quiet, peaceful, and Daniel realized something he didn't expect. He didn't want to go home tonight. He didn't want to leave Lily alone in this room. He didn't want her waking up to silence and strangers. Dr. Harris checked on them one more time before leaving. Get some rest, Mr. Hayes, she said softly. We'll talk more in the morning. He nodded but didn't move from the chair. An hour later, the door opened slowly. Officer Ryan stepped inside, closing it behind him quietly. Mr. Hayes, he whispered, the mother has been taken to a temporary holding area for the night. She'll undergo evaluation in the morning. Child Services will arrive early to begin the assessment. Daniel nodded. Thank you. Officer Ryan looked at Lily's sleeping form and his expression softened. You know, the officer murmured, in my 10 years of service, I've seen many abandoned kids. But I've never seen one this calm after what she went through. I think that's because of you. Daniel shook his head gently. She's the strong one, he replied. I just showed up. The officer smiled faintly. Sometimes showing up is the strongest thing anyone can do. He left quietly, closing the door behind him. As the night crawled on, the room stayed quiet except for the soft hum of the hospital machines. Daniel leaned back in the chair, exhaustion tugging at his eyelids. But even tired, he kept glancing at Lily every few seconds, making sure she was still sleeping peacefully. At some point, his mind drifted. He found himself picturing what his house, his big, empty, echoing house, would look like with Lily in it. He imagined her tiny footsteps tapping softly along the polished floors. He imagined her sitting on the couch with Mr. Buttons, listening to the sound of his voice reading her a story. He imagined her asking questions, laughing, discovering new textures with her little hands. He imagined teaching her the layout of the house, step by step, room by room, so she could walk freely without fear. He imagined what her face would look like the first time she touched something new, like the warm fur blanket in the living room, or the smooth marble counters in the kitchen, or the gentle sound of the piano in the hallway. And for the first time in years, the image didn't feel like pain, it felt like hope. Hours later, just before dawn, Lily began to stir. Her small body shifted under the blanket. Her hand reached out blindly, searching the air. Daniel, she whispered sleepily. Daniel leaned forward immediately. I'm here, he said softly. Her hand found his sleeve again and she relaxed. You didn't leave, she murmured. I promised I wouldn't, he replied. She smiled faintly, still half asleep. You're good at keeping promises. She drifted back into sleep, but her tiny hand remained holding onto his sleeve. And Daniel stayed exactly where he was, letting her hand rest there like it belonged. The sun began to rise slowly, its light creeping across the room, warm and soft. It illuminated the edge of Lily's blanket, the fur on Mr. Buttons, and finally Daniel's tired but softened face. Morning brought questions, decisions, consequences. Morning brought child services, legal steps, and difficult conversations. Morning brought the mother's wishes and the state's responsibilities. Morning brought the possibility of a new beginning or a painful separation. But morning also brought something else, something quiet but strong. Something that had slowly but surely been forming in the heart of a man who once believed he had nothing left to give. Morning brought the first day of a bond that neither of them had expected. A bond that would be tested, challenged, broken open, and rebuilt in ways more powerful than either of them knew. Because the moment Lily opened her eyes to the sound of Daniel's voice, her entire world would shift again. And when the mother, child services, and the truth all collided a few hours later, everything would change again. Morning crept into the room like a slow breath, soft and gentle. Pale sunlight slid across the wall, then across the blankets at the end of Lily's bed. The quiet beeping of the small machine beside her kept a steady rhythm. Daniel sat in the same chair he had used all night, his back a little stiff, his eyes tired but awake. He had refused to leave even when nurses told him he could rest in the family waiting room. Every time he thought about walking away, he saw Lily's tiny hand clutching his sleeve in her sleep and heard her whisper, "Promise you won't leave me alone." So he stayed. He watched the sky change from dark to gray to the soft blue of morning. He watched the city below the window slowly come alive with traffic and movement. And he waited for the moment when Lily would wake up and need a voice she trusted. Lily stirred under the blanket, her fingers moving first. Her small hand searched automatically for Mr. Buttons, and when it found the teddy bear's soft fur, she relaxed a little. Then her other hand reached out, waving gently toward the side of the bed. "Daniel," she whispered, still half asleep. Daniel leaned forward at once, placing his hand where her fingers were reaching. "I'm here," he said quietly. "Good morning, Lily." Her fingers curled around his hand and she smiled, eyes still closed. "You really stayed," she murmured. "I told you I would," he replied. "How do you feel?" She blinked, her cloudy eyes open slowly, though they did not focus. "My head feels better," she said. "My throat isn't dry anymore and the bed is soft. It doesn't feel like home." She paused. "It feels safer." A nurse entered the room with a gentle knock on the door. It was Nurse Nina, the same kind woman from the night before. "Good morning, superstar," she said softly to Lily, setting a tray of food on the small table. "We've got some breakfast for you, toast, eggs, and juice. You need your strength." Lily smiled shyly. "Thank you." Daniel stood and helped adjust the bed so Lily could sit up a little. He guided her hand to the cup of juice and then to the plate. "The eggs are on the left, the toast is on the right," he explained. "Take your time." Lily nodded and started eating slowly. Between small bites, she spoke. "Did the car stop?" she asked suddenly. Daniel frowned a little, confused. "What do you mean?" She tilted her head. "The car's on the road. Are they still there?" Then she shook her head, correcting herself. "No, that was a dream. I dreamed I was back there." Her voice grew quiet. Only this time no one came. Daniel sat back down, his heart tightening. "You're not on that road anymore, Lily," he said gently. "You're in a hospital, you're safe, you're not alone." She nodded slowly as if trying to press his words into her heart. "Did anyone find my mom?" she asked next. The question hung in the air like a heavy weight. Daniel glanced briefly at Nurse Nina, who looked away, giving him space to answer. He knew he couldn't lie, but he also knew he couldn't throw hard truth at a small child like a stone. "The police are talking to her," he said carefully. "She knows you're safe. There are people trying to decide what is best for you both." Lily's small fingers tightened around her cup. "Is she mad at me?" she whispered. "Did I make her so tired she had to leave?" Daniel shook his head at once, even though she couldn't see it. "No," he said firmly. "You did nothing wrong. Grown-ups make choices because of their own struggles, not because children deserve it. You are not the reason." Lily breathed out a shaky sigh, and for a moment she was quiet. Then she asked something that surprised him. "If they don't let me go home with her, where will I go?" she asked. "Will they put me in a place with many children? Will I have to learn new walls again?" Her voice trembled. "I bump into new walls a lot." The picture of her stumbling through strange hallways, bumping into doors and chairs, made Daniel's heart ache. He took a slow breath. "There are people coming today," he said, "whose job is to decide where children go when their home isn't safe. They're called social workers. They'll talk to you and to your mom and to me, and I'm going to tell them something very important." Lily tilted her head. "What?" He swallowed hard. "That I want to be part of your life," he said softly. "That I don't want to walk away. That if you can't go back home, I want you to come home with me." Lily's fingers froze on her toast. Her cloudy eyes widened as if they were trying to see something far away. "You want me?" she asked, her voice barely louder than a breath. "Even though I can't see, even though I need help with everything." Daniel felt his chest tight. "Especially then," he said, "because you deserve someone who sees your value even when your eyes don't work. You deserve someone who will learn the right way to guide you, teach you, and protect you. You deserve love that doesn't disappear when things get hard." Lily's lips trembled. "What would your house be like?" she whispered, afraid to hope too much. "Is it loud? Is it scary?" He smiled gently, even though she couldn't see it. "My house is big and quiet," he said. "Sometimes too quiet. The floors are smooth, the walls are strong. We would learn the rooms together. I would show you where every door and chair is. We would make a map in your mind so you could walk without fear." She gripped Mr. Buttons and pressed him to her chest. "Would there be books?" she asked. He nodded. "There would be books," he replied, "in Braille so you can read with your fingers, and audio stories so you can listen." She thought for a moment more. "Would there be someone to tuck me in?" she asked, her voice small. This time he didn't answer right away because he felt his throat tighten too much, but then he spoke through it. "Yes," he said, "there would be someone. I would make sure of it." Before she could ask more questions, there was a soft knock on the door. Dr. Harris stepped in, followed by a woman in a simple gray suit carrying a folder and a calm but serious expression. The woman had kind eyes and a notebook in her hand. "Good morning," Dr. Harris said, smiling at Lily. "How's our brave girl doing?" Lily smiled back. "I ate my eggs," she said proudly. "They tasted like home but nicer." The woman in the gray suit stepped forward. "Lily," she said in a gentle voice, "my name is Ms. Parker. I work with children who need help finding safe homes. Is it okay if I talk to you and Mr. Hayes for a little while?" Lily nodded slowly, though she squeezed Daniel's hand tighter. "Okay," she said, "but can Daniel stay?" Ms. Parker smiled. "Yes," she said, "if that's what makes you feel safe, he can stay." They pulled the small chair closer to the bed. Dr. Harris remained near the wall, listening but giving space. Ms. Parker opened her folder and took out a pen. "Lily," she began softly, "I heard that you had a very hard day yesterday. You were left alone near a busy road. That must have been very scary." Lily nodded, her expression growing serious. "I didn't know where I was," she said quietly. "I only knew the sound of cars and people's feet walking by. I held Mr. Buttons and waited. Mom said she'd come back, but the sun started to move and my legs started to hurt." Ms. Parker's eyes softened. "You were very brave," she said, "and then someone came." Lily smiled a little as she turned her face toward Daniel. "Yes," she said, "he came. I heard his shoes and his voice. He gave me water and bread. He stayed." Ms. Parker wrote something down, then looked up. "How do you feel when you're with Mr. Hayes?" she asked. Lily thought about it seriously. "I feel like the world is not so big," she answered slowly. "When I hold his hand, I don't feel like I will fall into the road. His voice sounds like a wall that won't move away. He doesn't rush when I walk slowly. He doesn't sigh when I ask questions." Her small fingers twisted the teddy bear's ear. "He makes the dark feel less scary." Ms. Parker nodded, impressed by the way this little girl could explain her feelings so clearly. She turned to Daniel. "Mr. Hayes, you told the officers you were willing to take responsibility for Lily if her home is not safe," she said. "Is that still how you feel this morning, after a full night to think?" Daniel met her gaze, his eyes steady. "Yes," he said, more strongly than before. Ms. Parker tilted her head slightly. "Can you tell me why?" she asked. "Most men in your position would make a donation and walk away. You are a very busy man with a very public life. Taking in a child, especially a child with special needs, is not a small decision." Daniel took a deep breath. He could have given a simple answer about charity or responsibility, but that would not be the truth. "Years ago," he began slowly, "I had a daughter. Her name was Ellie. She was bright and full of life. I loved her very much, but there was an accident. I lost her." His voice caught, but he continued. "Since then I buried myself in work. I told myself that money could fill the silence. But yesterday when I saw Lily standing alone by that road, something inside me woke up. I saw a child who had never been given what my daughter had, a safe home, steady love. I couldn't save Ellie, but I can show up for Lily." He glanced at the little girl who was listening quietly. "I'm not trying to replace my daughter," he said softly. "That would be unfair to both of them. I'm trying to answer a call I feel in my heart. She needs someone who won't leave. I need to stop living like my heart is dead." Ms. Parker wrote more notes, her eyes thoughtful. "You understand there will be home checks, background checks, and training required," she said, "and this won't happen overnight. The mother still has rights unless a court says otherwise. We have to make decisions based on what is best for Lily, not just what feels good in one moment." Daniel nodded. "I understand," he replied. "I'm not asking you to skip steps. I'm asking to be considered seriously." Ms. Parker closed the folder for a moment and looked at Lily again. "Sweetheart," she said gently, "your mom is here in the hospital too. She talked to the police and to me. She's very upset about what happened. She says she was scared and tired and made a terrible mistake. She says she loves you." Lily's small hand tightened around Mr. Buttons, her cloudy eyes lowered. "She left me," she whispered. "She kissed my head twice and walked away. I waited and waited. Maybe love is lighter than I thought." Tears formed at the corners of her eyes. "I don't know if I should be happy she's here or scared she'll leave again." Ms. Parker's voice stayed soft. "That's a very honest feeling," she said. "It's okay to feel both. Do you want to talk to her?" Lily hesitated, her fingers twisting Mr. Button's arm. "Will you and Daniel be there?" she asked. "I don't want to be alone with her yet." Daniel spoke at once. "If you want me there, I'll be there," he said. Ms. Parker nodded. "We can meet in a quiet room," she suggested. "No shouting, no pressure, just talking." Lily took a shaky breath. "Okay," she whispered. "I want to hear what she says, but if I get scared, can I hold Daniel's hand?" Daniel's chest ached at the trust in her voice. "Yes," he said gently, "you can hold my hand the whole time." A short while later, Lily was moved in a wheelchair to a small counseling room down the hall, with Dr. Harris and Ms. Parker walking beside her. Daniel walked on the other side, one hand resting lightly on the handle. The room they entered was simple: 4 chairs, a small table, a box of tissues, and a window that let in clean morning light. On one of the chairs already sat Monica, Lily's mother. Her hair was combed now, but her eyes were still swollen from crying. Her hands were clenched together tightly in her lap and her legs shook slightly. When she saw Lily being wheeled into the room, she made a small choking sound. "My baby," she whispered, standing halfway before sitting back down, overwhelmed. Lily lifted her head slowly, turning toward the sound of her mother's voice. It was a voice she knew better than any other, the voice that had sung to her when she was little. That had scolded her when she fell, that had sighed with exhaustion too many times. Now that same voice sounded broken and small. Lily's fingers instantly reached out to the side and Daniel stepped closer so she could grab his hand. She held it tightly, her cloudy eyes facing her mother. "Hi, Mom," she said quietly. Monica covered her mouth with her hand, tears spilling out again. "I'm so sorry," she blurted out, the words tumbling over each other. "I'm so sorry, Lily. I know what I did was wrong. I know I hurt you. I know you were scared. I shouldn't have left you there. I was weak. I was lost. I thought maybe someone richer, someone better would take pity on you. I thought maybe they could give you what I couldn't, but I didn't plan anything. I just broke. I broke right there on that road." Lily listened, her small face tense. "You told me to stay," she said, her voice shaking. "You said, 'Don't move, I'll be back.' You kissed my forehead 2 times, you never kissed twice. I thought it meant you loved me extra that day, but then you walked away, and I kept waiting, every car, every footstep, I thought it was you, but it was never you." Her voice cracked. "Why didn't you come back?" Monica's shoulders shook. "Because I was a coward," she whispered. "Because I let fear win. Because for one horrible moment I believed you'd be better off without me. I walked away thinking I'd circle back once my head stopped spinning, but then I kept walking, and when I finally understood what I'd done, I went back and you were gone. People told me a rich man had taken you. I started running, asking questions, begging to know where you were. The officers found me crying near the bus station. I came here as fast as they would let me. I never stopped looking for you, Lily. I never stopped being your mother in my heart. I just failed at being one with my actions." Lily's lower lip trembled. She wanted to reach for her mother. She wanted to pull away. She wanted to cry and scream and ask a million questions. But most of all, she wanted to understand why the person who was supposed to stay had walked away when things were hardest. "If I could see," Lily whispered, "would you have left me there?" Monica's eyes widened with shock and pain. "No," she cried. "No, baby, never. Your blindness is not the problem. The problem is me, my fear, my exhaustion, my shame. You're not the broken one here, I am." She fell to her knees slowly, as if the weight of her guilt was forcing her down. "If you never forgive me, I'll understand," she whispered. "If they take you away from me forever, I'll know I did this. But I want you to know one thing for the rest of your life: I love you. I have always loved you, even when my choices didn't show it, even when my weakness hurt you. My love for you never stopped." Silence settled over the room like a thick blanket. Daniel watched Lily's face closely. Ms. Parker and Dr. Harris waited quietly, letting the words sink in. Lily's fingers tightened and loosened around Daniel's hand again and again as she fought through feelings too big for her small body. Finally, she spoke. "You say you love me," she said slowly, "but you left me in the loudest place I've ever been." Tears slid down her cheeks. "You say you didn't want to hurt me, but you hurt me more than the road or the sun or the cars ever could." She paused, swallowing hard. "I believe you love me, but I don't know if I can trust you yet." Monica sobbed openly. "That's fair," she whispered. "You don't have to trust me today. I don't even trust myself yet." Lily took a shaky breath. "Yesterday when I cried and there were too many sounds and I couldn't find your voice, another voice came," she said. She turned her face slightly toward Daniel. "His," she added. "He held my hand, he gave me water, he stayed in the chair all night so I wouldn't be alone. He's a stranger, but my heart wasn't scared. My heart trusted him." Daniel's own eyes burned now. Ms. Parker cleared her throat gently. "Lily," she said softly, "the adults in this room have been talking about what happens next. Your mother is going to be evaluated. She needs help, counseling, support, maybe training, so that if she is ever trusted with your care again, she won't break like this." Monica nodded weakly. "I'll do anything," she said. "Whatever they tell me to do, I'll do it." Ms. Parker continued. "Mr. Hayes has also offered something very big. He has asked if he can become your legal guardian. That means he would be responsible for your home, your food, your school, your hospital visits, your safety, and your daily life. You would live with him. You would visit your mom under safe, supervised conditions while she works on herself." Lily's small fingers squeezed Daniel's hands so tightly he could feel the tremble in them. "So I don't have to choose between them?" she asked quietly, scared the answer might be yes. Ms. Parker shook her head gently. "Not in a simple way," she said. "This is not a question of who you love more, it's a question of safety and stability. You are a child, this is not your weight to carry. The grown-ups in the court will make the final decision, but we do want to hear how you feel. Your voice matters." Lily took a long, slow breath and let it out shakily. "I don't want to live in many houses with many walls," she said. "I don't want to bump into new chairs every month. I don't want to learn new footsteps over and over. I want to know where my bed is. I want to know which direction the kitchen is. I want to know who will come when I call." She turned her face fully toward Daniel now. "When I think about that, my heart feels safe when I think about his house, even though I've never been there." Then she turned her face back toward the sound of her mother's sobs. "I still love you, Mom," she whispered. I think I always will, but love is not enough if I'm always scared you might leave when things are too hard. I want you to get help. I want you to become strong. I want you to become the kind of mom who doesn't walk away from the road." Monica cried into her hands, nodding over and over. "I will," she said. "I'll try, I'll do the work, even if I only get to watch you from far away, even if I only get to see you sometimes, I will still love you." The room was thick with emotion. Ms. Parker wiped her eyes discreetly and cleared her throat. "Thank you, Lily," she said gently. "You've been very brave. For now, here is what will happen. We will file an emergency protection order. That means you will not go back home with your mother today. You will stay in care while we process all of this. Because of Mr. Hayes' offer, and because the hospital can confirm his character and resources, we will recommend that he be allowed to take temporary guardianship while the court reviews the long-term plan. That means you can go home with him soon, but there will still be rules, checks, and follow-ups to make sure you're safe and happy." Lily squeezed Daniel's hand again, and he squeezed back gently. "Will my mom disappear?" Lily asked softly. Ms. Parker shook her head. "Not if it can be helped," she said. "If she keeps her promises, if she goes to counseling, if she learns how to handle stress in a healthy way, if she proves she can be safe, then you will be able to see her regularly." Lily's shoulders relaxed just a little. "Okay," she whispered. I think I can live with that." Monica looked up at Daniel now, her eyes full of mixed emotions, shame, gratitude, fear, and a strange, painful kind of hope. "You're really willing to do this?" she asked. "You're willing to take in a blind girl who cries at night and trips over shoes and needs help with everything?" Daniel met her gaze calmly. "I'm not doing her a favor," he said quietly. "I'm starting a family with her. That comes with work, that comes with sacrifice, and I'm ready." Monica swallowed hard. "I don't deserve this kindness," she whispered. Daniel shook his head. "This isn't about what you deserve," he replied. "It's about what she deserves. She deserves stability. She deserves love that stays. She deserves a childhood that isn't just fear and hunger." He paused. "But I also believe in second chances. If you do the work, if you really change, then maybe one day she won't see you as the mom who left her on the road, but as the mom who fought her way back." The next few days moved like a slow but steady machine. Papers were filed, judges were called, investigations were made. Background checks on Daniel came back clean with notes of large donations to charities and hospitals over the years. Home inspection officers walked through his big mansion, taking notes on the number of bedrooms, the safety of the stairs, the distance to the nearest hospital and special school. Daniel walked alongside them, answering questions, already planning how to adapt the house for Lily. Handrails in the hallways, textured mats near doors, bells on certain handles, and a clear, open path from her room to the kitchen and living room. Dr. Harris connected Daniel with a specialist who worked with visually impaired children. The specialist, a kind man named Dr. Patel, met Lily in the hospital and did more detailed tests. After a full examination, he sat with Daniel in a small office. "Her condition is serious," Dr. Patel explained. "She may never see the way most people do. But with therapy, proper tools, and maybe future procedures, we might increase her light perception and help her become more independent. There's a special program, a school that focuses on children like her. They teach Braille, cane skills, and independent living. It's expensive. Many parents can't afford it." Daniel didn't even blink. "Sign her up," he said. "Consider it done, and if there are other kids who can't pay, send me their names too." Meanwhile, Monica began her own journey. Under the court's direction, she checked into a support program for parents in crisis. She sat in small rooms with counselors, peeling back the layers of her pain. She talked about poverty, about loneliness, about the shame of having a disabled child in a world that gave her no help. She talked about how every door she knocked on seemed to close. But she also talked about her daughter's laugh, about the way Lily used to trace her face with tiny fingers, about the songs they sang together at night. She wanted to be better. For the first time, wanting wasn't just a sad wish, it became a plan. At last, the day came when Lily was discharged from the hospital and approved to leave with Daniel under temporary guardianship. The nurses hugged her gently. Dr. Harris gave her a small digital recorder filled with stories and messages. "Whenever you feel alone, press play," the doctor said with a smile. "You'll hear voices that care about you." Lily smiled, hugging the device. "Thank you," she said softly. Ms. Parker came too, to make sure the first step into this new chapter was safe. "Remember," she told Daniel, "we'll be checking in regularly. This is just the beginning of a long road." Daniel nodded. "I know," he replied. "I'm ready to walk it." Then they finally drove through the gates of Daniel's large house. Lily sat in the back seat holding Mr. Buttons with one hand and gripping Daniel's sleeve with the other. She couldn't see the tall trees lining the driveway, the fountain in front of the house, or the big glass windows. But she could hear the change in sound, the way the car's noise echoed differently off the wide open space. She could smell flowers in the air, clean and sweet. She could feel a new kind of quiet, the kind that comes when a place is safe and still. The car stopped. Daniel got out and then carefully lifted Lily into his arms, just like he had the day he found her. But this time she wasn't coming from a dangerous road. She was arriving at a place meant to be home. "We're here," he said softly. "This is our house now." Lily pressed her cheek against his chest, listening to the steady thump of his heart. "It sounds big," she whispered. He smiled. "It is," he replied, "but we'll make it feel small together." Inside, he had already asked staff to move furniture and clear pathways. He gently guided Lily from room to room, narrating each step. "This is the living room," he said, placing her hand on the back of the couch. "Soft couch here, table in front, no sharp corners near where you'll walk." He guided her to the kitchen next. "Here is the counter," he explained, placing her hand on the smooth surface. "The sink is here. We'll teach you where everything is slowly. You don't have to learn it all today." Finally, he led her to a bedroom he had set up just for her. "This," he said softly, "is your room." He placed her hand on the edge of the bed. The blanket was soft and fluffy. On a small shelf nearby were textured toys and a Braille alphabet board. "Your bed is here against the wall," he explained. "Your shelf is next to it. We'll put your clothes in this dresser. We'll keep the floor clear so you won't trip." Lily climbed onto the bed carefully, running her fingers over the blanket. "It feels like a cloud," she said, smiling. "May I bounce a little?" Daniel chuckled. "Just a little," he replied. She bounced gently, giggling. For the first time since he met her, her laugh was free from any kind of fear. Days turned into weeks. There were still court hearings and paperwork. There were still check-ins from Ms. Parker and her team. But in the middle of all the serious adult work, something beautiful grew. Daniel and Lily fell into a rhythm. In the mornings, they practiced walking through the house. Daniel learned how to give simple, clear instructions like 2 steps forward, hand on the wall, chair on your right. He attended classes with her to learn how to guide a visually impaired child correctly. He knelt beside her as she learned Braille, watching her small fingers dance over the small raised dots. In the afternoons, they listened to stories together, some from the recorder Dr. Harris gave them, some from audiobooks he downloaded. At night, he tucked her into bed, smoothing her blanket and making sure Mr. Buttons was in her arms. Sometimes in the quiet moments, Lily would say things that pulled at his heart. "When I was with Mom," she said one night, "she was always tired. Her voice sounded like a heavy bag. Here your voice sounds like a coat that fits, not too heavy, not too light, just right for me." Another time she asked, "Do you think God forgot about me on that road?" He shook his head firmly. "No," he replied. "I think God was using that road to push us toward each other." Sometimes the worst day of our life becomes the start of a better story. Monica, meanwhile, kept her side of the promise. She went to every session, every meeting, every class. She cried a lot, she learned a lot, she worked a small job Daniel quietly helped her find, not as a favor but as a chance to stand on her own feet. Slowly she began to change. The shame in her eyes was still there, but it was now mixed with determination. She wrote letters to Lily, simple, honest letters about her day, her feelings, her progress. Ms. Parker read them with Lily during supervised visits. During one visit months later, Lily sat at a table in a child services room. Daniel sat nearby, letting them have space but staying close. Monica walked in looking different, tidier, calmer, more grounded. She sat down slowly. "Hi, baby," she said softly. "Hi, Mom," Lily replied, fingers tracing the edge of the table. "How are you?" Monica smiled sadly. "Learning," she answered. "Learning how to be a person who doesn't walk away when things get hard. Learning how to ask for help before I break." Lily listened, then reached out slowly until she found her mother's hand. Monica gasped softly when she felt the small fingers touch hers. "Your hand feels stronger," Lily said quietly, "not shaking like before." Monica laughed through tears. "That's because I'm trying to be stronger," she replied. "For you, for me." She took a breath. "Do you like living with Mr. Hayes?" Lily's face lit up. "Yes," she said simply. "He keeps his promises. He's learning how to be my dad." The word slipped out naturally, and when it did, Daniel felt his heart skip a beat. Monica heard it too. She winced at first, then slowly nodded. "He's doing what I couldn't," she said, her voice soft but without anger. "He's giving you what you need. I'm grateful he picked up what I dropped." Tears slid down her cheeks, but there was no jealousy there now, just a deep, painful acceptance and a growing peace. "If you ever want to call him Dad," she added, "you should. You deserve a dad who stays." Eventually, a final court date arrived. The judge reviewed all the reports about the day on the road, the hospital, the mother's breakdown, her progress, Daniel's commitment, and Lily's own words through recorded interviews. In a quiet courtroom, the judge made the decision. Lily would remain under the guardianship of Daniel Hayes as her full-time legal guardian. Monica would retain supervised visitation rights, with the possibility of expanded time if she continued to grow and prove her stability. The judge's final words were simple but powerful. This child deserves not to be punished for the failures of the adults in her life. She deserves safety, love, and a stable future. Let this arrangement be the beginning of that. After the hearing, Lily and Daniel walked out of the building together, her hand wrapped around his arm. "What does it mean now?" she asked. "It means," Daniel said softly, "that my house is officially your home, that I am responsible for you in every way, that I am not just a man who found you on the road. I am your guardian, your parent, your family." Lily smiled, her cloudy eyes lifting toward the sound of his voice. "Can I say something?" she asked. "Anything," he replied. She squeezed his hand. "Hi, Dad," she said softly. The word dad didn't feel like it erased Ellie. It felt like it honored her by letting Daniel's heart love again. Tears filled his eyes, but this time they were not only from pain, they were from healing. "Hi, my brave girl," he whispered back. Time moved forward. Lily started at the special school Dr. Patel had recommended. She learned Braille quickly. She learned to walk with her cane more confidently, counting her steps from the front door to the gate, from her room to the kitchen. Daniel sat in on many lessons, learning alongside her. His busy calendar shifted. Meetings were moved around school appointments. Business calls were scheduled after bedtime stories. The man who once cared only about deals and deadlines now cared most about whether a 5-year-old was sleeping peacefully down the hall. One evening, months after the day on the road, Lily and Daniel sat in the backyard. He had placed a soft mat on the grass so she could sit without worrying about dirt. She held her face up to the sky. "The sun is warm today," she said. "It feels like the day you found me, but different." Daniel tilted his head. "How?" he asked. She smiled. "That day the sun felt like it was burning me," she said. "Today it feels like it's hugging me. I think it's because of where I am and who I'm with." He watched her quietly, pride and love mixing in his chest. "There's something else," Lily said. "I still can't see like other people. Maybe I never will, but something changed." Daniel frowned slightly. "What changed?" She tapped her chest lightly. "I think my heart can see now," she said. "It can see who loves me, it can see who stayed, it can see that even when someone breaks your trust, they can try to build it again slowly. My heart can see that family is not just blood. Family is the people who show up on the worst day and stay on the hardest days." A tear slipped down Daniel's cheek. He didn't wipe it away. "Your heart is very wise," he said softly. "Wiser than many adults I know," Lily giggled. "It's because it had to grow in the dark," she replied. Sometimes Monica visited, still under supervision. She brought simple things, a scarf with a soft texture, cookies she had learned to bake in a class, small songs she had written. She was not perfect, she still had hard days, but she was different now. She didn't beg to take Lily away. She didn't argue with the system. She just sat in the space she was allowed to have and poured love into every minute of it. One day, as a visit ended, Lily reached out and held both Daniel's and Monica's hands at the same time. "I have two," she said matter-of-factly. "A mom who's learning, and a dad who found me. I think that's more than I had before." In the end, the shocking part of this story wasn't just that a billionaire found a blind girl abandoned on the road. The real shock was what he chose to do after. He didn't just write a check. He didn't just post a picture to look kind. He opened his home, his schedule, and his heart. He let a broken child heal him while he helped heal her. And the mother who made a terrible choice wasn't simply thrown away either. She was held accountable, but also given a chance to change, to grow, and to slowly rebuild a bridge between her and the daughter she loved but had hurt. The road where Lily once stood alone was still busy. Cars still rushed past every day. Most people still didn't look twice at the shadows on the side. But for one little girl, that road had turned into a doorway out of fear and into a life where she was wanted, safe, and seen, even without her eyes. If you believe that love can show up in the most unexpected places, and that second chances can rebuild what was broken, then this story is for you. Please don't forget to like this video and share it with someone who needs hope today. Tell us in the comments, where are you watching from and what time is it right now where you are? And if stories like this touch your heart, please subscribe to this channel to support our growth so we can keep bringing you more life-changing stories just like this one.